Hey there, I'm Mei Ling and I'm 29 years old. Anyone who grew up Asian American will tell you that it's no walk in the park. Being Chinese American, I've been subjected to a few unsavory encounters in my life. Needless to say, I've gotten used to being discriminated against as well as learning to fight for my dignity. I had learned to navigate through life with resilience. I had to, lest I be subject to more cruelty from people around me. Unfortunately, though, it appeared as though my father-in-law was oblivious to the extensive American ignorance and stupidity. Let me give you some context on my family situation. My husband, Matteo, and I come from different cultural backgrounds. He is Dominican, and as I already mentioned, I'm Chinese American. Our diverse heritage has always fascinated me, and we've cherished the opportunity to embrace and learn about each other's traditions. However, recently a new dynamic entered our family, Hiroshi, Mateo's stepfather and my new father-in-law. Hiroshi added an interesting layer to our family dynamic as he too shared East Asian roots like me. It was an exciting prospect to have someone who could understand and appreciate my cultural background. But unfortunately, something changed when Hiroshi entered our lives. Both Mateo and my mother-in-law, Sophia, started speaking in Spanish more frequently, particularly when Hiroshi was around. At first, I didn't pay any mind to it, seeing as though Spanish is their mother tongue. Additionally, they wouldn't be talking about anything bad or offhand. I knew this because I too speak Spanish. You see, I wanted to learn Spanish as a little surprise gift from my husband. His love language is acts of service, and so I thought that he would appreciate me learning his language so that we could be better connected. I'll admit, I kept this secret from them longer than what was originally intended, but that's because my fears and anxieties prevented me from exposing the truth, that I could hear what they were talking about. I still believed that my Spanish wasn't good enough, and so I kept this secret to myself despite gaining fluency more and more. I didn't contribute or speak up, preventing any arising embarrassment that might come about if I failed or mispronounced something. Perhaps my anxiety was a blessing in disguise because once Hiroshi came around, as I mentioned before, Sophia and Mateo would speak Spanish more often. Well, if there was a time for me to not be speaking Spanish, it was certainly during those moments. I mean, could you imagine joining a family with such differing cultures and being excluded by all three of us? Out of respect for Hiroshi and East Asian solidarity, I decided to remain in my oblivious state, talking to him in English because at least we could both understand each other. Although I found the increased Spanish a bit odd, all things considered, I brushed it aside. That was until I started hearing some insults being thrown in Spanish that I got whiplash from. I still remember that day like it was yesterday. The table was set. The aroma of mouth-watering dishes filled the air, and we were all conversing, preparing to start dishing out the food for one another. But destiny had other plans. As I reached for the gravy boat, my hand slipped, and the gravy spilled like a river of regret. Well, you can imagine the chaos that ensued. Sophia, my dear mother-in-law, unleashed a string of expletives in Spanish. I mean, I don't need to be fluent in Spanish to know when someone's hurling insults my way. It stung. But my knight in shining armor, Mateo, came to my rescue. He defended me, telling his mother that such remarks are uncalled for. And then Sophia dropped a bomb and shattered my heart. And she said, "Why are you defending her? It's not like she can hear us anyways." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Ironically enough, it stung worse than the expletives she used before. The embarrassment surged through me, and I choked on my water, surprised that she had said that. It sounded so cold and so sinister, like she was used to speaking so freely about me in her language. As I gasped for air, Hiroshi embraced me with understanding and compassion. He reminded me that we all make mistakes, that accidents can happen, and that there was more gravy in the pot. Little did he know it wasn't the spilled gravy that had taken my breath away. It was the hurtful words uttered by Sophia, questioning my self-worth. I couldn't shake off the doubt that crept into my mind. Did I mishear her? Was I losing my grip on reality? I refused to believe that my own mother-in-law, someone who should have been a source of love and support, would speak about me in such a demeaning way. After dinner, haunted by Sophia's words, I sought confirmation. I turned to a Spanish-speaking friend and even resorted to trusty Google Translate. And wouldn't you know it, my worst fears were confirmed. Sophia had indeed been intentionally rude and disrespectful. I couldn't wrap my head around this newfound callousness. Why would Sophia harbor such disdain towards me? The question swirled in my mind, but for the time being I chose to keep my discoveries to myself. I decided to bide my time observing the dynamics within our multicultural family and waiting for the right moment to address this issue head on. The next morning, as we gathered around the breakfast table, there was an uncomfortable silence hanging in the air. I sat quietly, my thoughts racing, while the rest of the family engaged in their usual banter. Sophia and Mateo, like clockwork, began conversing in Spanish, as was their custom. Little did they know their words held more weight than they realized. Suddenly, Sophia dropped a bombshell. "I regret marrying this old stupid man," she uttered, completely unaware of my understanding of her words. My ears perked up and my heart sank. Once again, Sophia had let her true feelings slip, tarnishing the harmony of our eating rituals. Meanwhile, Hiroshi, the oblivious soul, chuckled and commented, "Wow, I should start learning Spanish so that I can hear what you two keep talking about." If only he knew the painful truth hidden beneath their laughter as they chuckled along with him. Sophia and Mateo dismissed it as innocent teasing, pretending that they weren't engaging in hurtful gossip right in front of Hiroshi's face. But the gossiping didn't stop there. Oh no, it continued with relentless fervor. Mateo and Sophia took turns mocking Hiroshi, each remark cutting deeper than the last. Examples? Let me paint the picture for you. They made fun of his accent, imitating his attempts to pronounce certain words. They poked fun at his cultural traditions, dismissing them as odd or unnecessary. And worst of all, they belittled his age, making jokes about him being past his prime. All the while I sat there, my discomfort growing by the second. It was as if I was witnessing a cruel game, where Hiroshi was the unwitting target of their scorn. My heart ached for him, for the pain he unknowingly endured at the hands of his own family. This was not the love and acceptance I had hoped for when our cultures merged. At that moment, I made a silent vow to myself. I would no longer stand idly by while this toxicity poisoned our family's bonds. Sophia might have gotten away with talking so foully about me, but I wouldn't let her drag this innocent old man into the mix. I knew that I had to confront the elephant in the room to address the underlying tensions that had plagued us for far too long. I would find a way to open their eyes, to make them realize the beauty of our multicultural family and the need for respect and compassion. As the days turned into weeks, I became more determined than ever to expose Mateo and Sophia's hurtful behavior towards Hiroshi. Armed with my trusty phone, I embarked on a mission to capture their demeaning conversations and reveal their true colors to the world. During every meal, I discreetly recorded their interactions, ensuring that their words would serve as undeniable evidence of their cruelty. With each passing day, the insults grew more vicious and Hiroshi began to withdraw, noticing that something was certainly amiss for both he and I to constantly be excluded like this. His once vibrant spirit dimmed in the face of exclusion. I tried my best to steer the conversations towards topics we could all enjoy in English, hoping to create an inclusive atmosphere. But inevitably, Mateo and Sophia would revert to Spanish, drowning out any attempt to foster unity. Their gossiping and insults directed at Hiroshi poisoned the air, suffocating the joy that mealtime should have brought. When I would revisit those covert recordings, reconfirming what I had originally translated, I pieced together a heartbreaking truth. It appeared that Sophia had married Hiroshi solely for his wealth, lamenting the fact that she would have to wait until his passing to inherit his fortune. The depth of her greed shocked me. Meanwhile, Mateo, my husband, not only participated in these insults, but found amusement in his mother's despicable intentions. The weight of this knowledge pressed heavily on my heart. How could I have been so blind to their true nature? The very people I had expected to embrace and celebrate our unique family dynamic had betrayed that trust. It was clear that I had to take a stand, not only for Hiroshi's sake, but for the integrity and love our family deserved. In the silence of the night, I listened to those recorded conversations again and again, fueling my determination to confront Mateo and Sophia with the undeniable proof of their disdain. I knew it would be a difficult path to tread, fraught with tension and confrontation, but I couldn't let them continue their hurtful ways unchecked. As I lay awake formulating my plan, I vowed to myself that I would not allow their toxicity to poison our lives any longer. Hiroshi deserved better, and so did our family. With my heart set on change, I prepared to bring their hurtful actions to light, ready to challenge Mateo and Sophia's hurtful behavior head on. It was time for them to face the consequences of their actions, and for our family to embark on a journey towards healing and understanding. But I decided one major thing before confronting them. I thought that Hiroshi needed to hear about my discoveries first. He deserved to know the truth. I mustered up the courage to approach Hiroshi, sensing the heaviness that weighed upon his heart. With a sympathetic smile, I said, "Hey Hiroshi, how are you doing?" He let out a sigh and looked into my eyes, his vulnerability shining through. "Mei Ling, it's been difficult to be honest. I'm struggling to assimilate into this new family dynamic. The constant use of Spanish excludes me and I feel like an outsider. Maybe I should start those Spanish classes after all." I nodded in understanding, my heart aching for him. "I completely get it, Hiroshi. It's been weighing on me too, but I have something important to share with you." He looked intrigued, a spark of curiosity in his eyes. "What is it, Mei Ling?" Taking a deep breath, I revealed the secret I had been carrying. "Hiroshi, I understand Spanish. I've been able to follow every conversation that Mateo and Sophia have had. They didn't know because I never joined in on the Spanish conversations. I kept it a secret because I felt anxious and embarrassed about my pronunciation and grasp of the language. But I do understand them completely." Hiroshi's eyes widened in surprise. "Why didn't you ever let them know? I'm sure they would have helped you with the pronunciation and stuff." I smiled ruefully. "Well, Hiroshi, you're probably right. Like I said, I was anxious and embarrassed, and it was meant to be a surprise for Mateo after I'd learned enough of the language to have meaningful dialogue. But then I kept putting it off, thinking perhaps he wouldn't be impressed. Regardless, perhaps me not telling them was a blessing in disguise." "What do you mean?" "By keeping this secret, I was able to listen in on their conversations. And what I heard was hurtful and disrespectful. They've been ganging up on you, insulting you behind your back. They thought the language barrier protected them, but now they'll have to face the consequences." Confusion mixed with concern as Hiroshi tried to process my revelation. "What do you mean? What have they been saying about me?" Taking his hands in mine, I spoke with conviction. Hiroshi, they've been mocking you, making fun of you, and even speaking ill of you. It's been going on for weeks, and it's absolutely awful that they can speak so openly about you under the guise of a language barrier. His eyes filled with a mix of surprise, hurt, and gratitude. I don't know what to say. Thank you for telling me the truth. I never imagined they would be capable of such behavior. What exactly have they been saying? I braced myself, knowing that the truth would completely shatter him. Hiroshi, I understand that this might be hard to believe, but it's the truth, and I have to tell you what I know. Sophia married you for your money, and both she and Matteo are eagerly waiting for your passing so they can inherit your fortune. As the weight of my words sank in, Hiroshi's initial disbelief turned into a mixture of shock and confusion. Hiroshi's eyes widened in disbelief. I reached out gently, placing a hand on his shoulder, but he moved away. No, Mei Ling, you must be mistaken. Sophia loves me, and Matteo loves me too. They wouldn't do that. Are you sure you're being honest with me? Maybe it's you who's trying to cheat me. With determination in my voice, I assured him. Hiroshi, I wouldn't bring this up if I didn't have concrete evidence. I recorded their conversations, and you can hear it for yourself. Check with any Spanish-speaking person you know to confirm what they're saying. At that moment, I airdropped the recordings to Hiroshi's phone, allowing him to uncover the truth for himself. Listen to these conversations, Hiroshi, and then you'll see the reality of the situation. Days passed, and there was a palpable tension in the air between Hiroshi, Sophia, and Matteo. I kept my distance, allowing Hiroshi the space to process the shocking revelations. Then, one day, Hiroshi pulled me aside, his expressions filled with a mix of resignation and gratitude. I owe you an apology. I doubted you, and I let my love for Sophia blind me. But after consulting with some of my Spanish-speaking friends and listening to those recordings, I finally believe you. I can't believe they would stoop so low, saying all those awful things about me. What did I ever do to them? I know, Hiroshi, it was a lot to take in, and I'm so sorry, but I thought you needed to hear the truth. I've decided to get an annulment. What? You heard me. We haven't been married for that long, so an annulment is still viable. You see me, May. I'm old. I can't afford to waste any more time with people who don't have my best interests at heart. I just can't believe that you'll be leaving so soon. Leaving is the most logical thing to do. I advise that you do the same. This is the last time I'll sleep in this house. Tomorrow I'll leave, and I won't reach out to Sophia and Matteo until I'm ready to start processing the annulment. But in the meantime, I think I might need a vacation. I understand, Hiroshi. You deserve a life full of genuine love and peace, and I guess I do too. And with that, Hiroshi and I exchanged a hug, and we both went on our way. The next day, as was promised, there was no sign of Hiroshi. He'd packed up a bag and just left, leaving Sophia and Matteo confused, but also giving them free rein to continue disparaging the poor man's name. I could hear them as I was putting away the dishes, and they were in the living room nearby. With each insult, I grew more furious, wondering why they were being so cruel to Hiroshi, and then I snapped. With a newfound sense of empowerment, I mustered the courage to confront Sophia and Matteo about their hurtful gossiping and deceit. I couldn't let their actions go unaddressed any longer. Enough is enough. I know exactly what you've been saying about Hiroshi behind his back, in your secret Spanish conversations. Sophia's face turned pale. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Matteo, on the other hand, tried to maintain a facade of innocence. You have no idea what you're talking about. At that moment, I switched gears, revealing a side of me that they had never seen before. Speaking in fluent Spanish, I confronted them head on. Do not underestimate me. I've understood everything you two have been saying for the past 3 weeks. You've been insulting and disparaging Hiroshi ever since he came into our lives. Sophia and Mateo's faces flushed with embarrassment. Their gazes shifted away from mine. They were caught and exposed in their web of deceit. Mateo finally broke the uncomfortable silence, his voice tinged with a mix of curiosity, regret, and even hurt. Why didn't you tell me that you could speak Spanish? You're really good. A bitter smile formed on my lips as I replied. I was embarrassed by my imperfect Spanish, but now I realized that my hidden knowledge allowed me to discover the truth about your true colors, about the malicious intentions you've harbored towards Hiroshi. Their eyes widened, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the situation. Sophia's voice trembled as she desperately asked, What do you mean, Mei Ling? Taking a deep breath, I revealed the truth, piece by piece. I've informed Hiroshi about everything. He's currently enjoying a well-deserved vacation far away from the toxicity of this household. And, thanks to his newfound clarity, he has decided to pursue an annulment. So you're not going to get the money. Confusion and panic filled the room as Sophia and Mateo grappled with the consequences of their actions. The realization that their pursuit of Hiroshi's fortune had been in vain left them stunned. You see, Sophia and Mateo, greed and manipulation may have temporarily clouded your judgment, but ultimately the truth prevailed. Hiroshi's fortune will never belong to you. His love and trust were shattered by your betrayal. As the weight of their actions settled upon them, Sophia and Mateo were left to face the consequences of their greed and deceit. The illusion they had woven around Hiroshi had crumbled, and their hopes of an easy fortune had evaporated. At that moment, I stood tall, knowing that I had spoken up for what was right, even at the risk of disrupting the fragile harmony of our family. Unfortunately, the damage had already been done, and the tension continued to simmer between Mateo, Sophia, and me. I knew that I couldn't stay in such a toxic environment any longer. The realization of their cruel intentions towards Hiroshi made me question what they might have said about me behind closed doors. It was clear that their true colors had been revealed, and I couldn't ignore the underlying toxicity of our relationship any longer. In secret, I began planning my exit strategy. I reached out to Hiroshi, seeking guidance and support. His kind-hearted nature and understanding provided me with the encouragement I needed to take this important step. He even offered some financial assistance to help me stand on my own 2 feet, knowing that I deserved better than the toxic atmosphere that had surrounded us. Days turned into weeks as I waited for the perfect moment to reveal my decision. The tension in the house remained palpable, with Mateo and Sophia carrying the weight of their failed plan on their shoulders. They knew they were wrong, but their anger and resentment masked any remorse they may have felt. Meanwhile, I focused on my preparations, gathering the strength and determination to make a clean break. The moment finally arrived when everything aligned. With my bags packed and my mind set on a brighter future, I confronted Mateo and Sophia. I calmly explained that their actions and words had shattered the trust and love we once shared. It was clear that staying in this toxic environment would only do more harm than good. Their faces contorted with a mix of anger and regret as they realized the consequences of their actions. At that moment, I revealed my plans to leave. I stood tall, asserting my worth and declaring my independence. Their attempts to plead and convince me otherwise fell on deaf ears. I had made up my mind, and nothing could change it. With a final goodbye, I walked away from the toxicity that had plagued our lives, stepping into a new chapter of my own. As I embarked on this journey towards self-discovery and freedom, I carried the lessons learned from this experience with me. No longer would I allow myself to be confined by the expectations and judgments of others. I had found my voice, and I would use it to shape my destiny, leaving behind the negativity that had once consumed me. It was time to embrace my strength and forge a path that was true to who I am.